What is going on, guys? Predator458 here, and welcome back to my channel. And my sincerest apologies for not having a video yesterday. My internet has been playing up more than usual at the moment, and it is rather limiting the amount of time I can play things like World of Warships or Armored Warfare. And as such, basically I just didn't, in the games I did get to play, I just didn't have anything good to show you guys. But anyways, we do have a solution, at least a temporary one. I still have a few replays to get through, so yeah, until my internet starts playing ball, you might be seeing a fair few World of Warships replays. And today we have another one from Soalhn. You may remember he submitted, or I featured, a replay of his not so long ago. Again, it was on Solomon Islands on this map. However, that time it was in the Tier 6 American battleship, the New Mexico. This time, however, he is taking out the Tier 4 Japanese destroyer, the Isokaze, or Isokaze, or however you pronounce it. And it's a rather enjoyable match, I must say. Now, he admits in his email that he sent me with this replay and all the screenshots attached that he's not really the greatest destroyer captain. He doesn't play them all that often, I think he said. But this was a particularly good match for him, so he sent it in. And I have to agree, I was very impressed. It does have a little bit of a slow sort of middle section, but the end is very well played on his part. So he has his first target. It is the Tier 4 Premium Japanese battleship, and it is 6 kilometers away. He's trying to get his torpedo tubes ready to launch, and unfortunately this friendly Phoenix collides with him, and he's unable to get his torpedoes away initially as he had hoped. But he's going to fire some now, and he's just going to fire sort of in and around the suggested aiming point, and he's going to run aground here, so he pops a bit of smoke just to say undetected, and this same Phoenix rams him again. What are you going to do? But he's fired his torpedoes. The Isokaze turned away, but he gets one torpedo hit on the battleship and one on the German cruiser, the Karlsruhe, who then takes 2 from the Phoenix. So 2 torpedo hits already, caused flooding twice, and now he's going to put some high explosive fire into the Isokaze. I think that's correct as well. I don't know. And you can see there's a whole bunch more ships in and around this area. Wyoming, another Karlsruhe back there. This Dursky Russian destroyer coming around the corner, and a Wakataki in and around the smoke. So he fires off a full spread of torpedoes, and yeah, this Soviet destroyer takes one, and that is enough to finish him off. So he's going to fire off some of his guns at the Wakataki, but unfortunately it is destroyed before he can get any damage in on it. But it was very nice to kill that destroyer. It's always good to kill a destroyer with torpedoes. Doesn't happen all that often. And now he's just sort of building a bit of distance from him, the enemy fleet, trying to get rid of, trying to get unspotted, I should say. And he has now managed to do so. He's calling attention to the middle strait between the 2 little islands, because there is no one watching that area, and that would be a very easy area for an enemy destroyer to sneak through. So I think he is now about to head towards that. And there's a little bit of downtime here, so we will skip forward until he finds some more action. And here he has a target. It is an enemy Isokaze at 6 kilometers. He does have a Kuma with him on his port side, but the Kuma is on very low health and has just been destroyed. So it's now 1 versus 1 destroyer wars, and he fires off a full spread of torpedoes, very wide spread there, just to try and maximize his chances of getting a lucky hit. Manages to land a high explosive hit on the Isokaze, and has removed a little bit of his health. And one of those torpedoes is actually looking pretty good, and indeed it is. It finds its mark, does 8,000 damage, and causes flooding. But the enemy Isokaze is likely to put a stop to that flooding soon. He's popped his smoke. Soalhn IJN managed to get another high explosive hit on him before he disappeared into his cloud of smoke. So he's just turning around now, and you can see him every now and then just popping in and out of the smoke. There he is, very low health. He's going to try and get a shot off, and unfortunately I think that one is going to miss, and the enemy destroyer is going to be able to get around that little island. So now he's going to head in towards the smoke and into the strait and see what trouble he can get himself into and what enemies he can find on the other side. At least this time he's going to have another cruiser coming with him. And this one has considerably more health than that Chroma did, who was taken out with a single salvo from the enemy destroyer. So he's heading up, and will rejoin when he finds something more to shoot at. Alright, and as he is traveling through the strait, we can see that premium battleship over there that he was engaged with a little bit earlier. And on his starboard side, just within gun range, is a South Carolina who's not quite within torpedo range just yet. The South Carolina is putting in some shots, and I think there's also a Chroma there, and a Karlsruhe, so this is quite a sticky situation to be in. Obviously, as we all know, cruisers excel at hunting down and killing destroyers, especially something like the Chroma, which has a very good reload time and can just flood an area with high explosive shells, and yeah, it's quite maneuverable to boot, and I really enjoyed my Chroma when I played it. As I said in those videos, it's more of a supersized destroyer rather than an actual cruiser. So he's fired some torpedoes. He fired ahead of the Chroma, not using the suggested aiming point. And unfortunately that Karlsruhe has now been destroyed, so he now has the full attention of the Chroma. He gets a incapacitation on him, and he fired another 2 spreads of torpedoes at the South Carolina, who is reversing. And yeah, not quite sure why he's doing that, but anyway, Soalhn IJN makes a little bit of a mistake here and turns into the island, and he doesn't even have any smoke that he can use to cover his mistake and unspot himself. Thankfully, as we all know, battleship guns are not the most accurate things in the world, especially on the likes of the tier 3 and tier 4 battleships, and so he's very much able to get away with it, only taking, I think, 677 damage from the South Carolina's hit. Unfortunately, the South Carolina was able to reverse and get out of the range of the torpedoes, and they just vanished without causing any damage, which is unfortunate. But now we got the Hosho at 11 kilometers, who is being engaged by one of the other destroyers. There's another Karlsruhe over there, 6.9 kilometers, but he is traveling away. And I think this is where there's another slight lull in the battle. Soalhn IJN is going to get into the cap circle and start trying to cap, probably with the intention of trying to encourage a few of these ships to come back to try and stop him, so he doesn't have to chase them down himself. He fires some of his guns at the Karlsruhe and manages to land 3 hits for nearly 2,000 damage, so that's not bad at all. He's going to head up towards this little island where he's going to try and hide behind it for a little bit before he can spring his trap on the enemy vessels that come back to try and stop the cap. Right, so he is now sitting behind this island. Again, it's a difficult situation to be in because there is a Chroma at less than 10 kilometers, a battleship, and there's some more cruisers on their way into this area. He does have a South Carolina that has joined him in the cap zone, but now that this Isokaze has made it into the cap circle, they have pretty much stopped capping. The Soviet destroyer over here did manage to finish off the enemy aircraft carrier and is now making its way into the cap circle, but is coming under fire from the Chroma. And there's a Karlsruhe coming behind the island to join the party. The enemy team did have another Karlsruhe that made it through the strait and is trying to cap Soalhn's team. So now he's just beginning to turn a little bit and try and get his torpedo tubes on target to fire some torpedoes at the Isizuchi. The South Carolina is being focused down by the battleship and the Kuma. Soalhn fired another salvo or his other tube at the Kuma. The South Carolina takes a hit, and unfortunately, I think was that maybe the battleship that finished off the other little destroyer. But Soalhn's torpedoes are looking good, and he lands two torpedo hits on the enemy battleship, and that is his second kill of the match. But now things are going to get interesting. As you can see, we've got two cruisers at very close range. They're all kind of focusing on this poor battleship. And we've got another battleship, another South Carolina, coming in from the strait. So right now it's 3 versus 4. Soalhn's team is leading in points, and unfortunately that South Carolina gets taken out. The other battleship is still in the spawn, and now for some reason, and I don't quite understand this, but his team kind of starts being mean to that South Carolina, calling him a noob. I don't know what he was supposed to do. The guns on the South Carolina are horrible, and he is being focused by 2 cruisers. So I'm not sure what he's supposed to do. But anyway, he's got torpedoes in the water on the way to the Kuma. He manages to land a single hit, and I think the Kuma is going to manage to dodge the rest of those. Fires off his guns, and he's able to finish off the Kuma with his guns. So now he's just got a South Carolina and a Karlsruhe to worry about. And this is where things are going to start getting really interesting. He takes a hit which knocks out his engine, so he's going to repair that. And yeah, unfortunately that player in the South Carolina is now sort of taunting them back and insulting them back and telling someone to speak English, Nazi, which I don't agree with, but I don't know why they were being mean to him in the first place. Even if he was aiming properly, it's very possible that all the shells would have missed anyway. So thankfully, Soalhn is not spotted anymore, but the Karlsruhe is getting very close, and as he was about to be spotted anyway, he opens fire with his guns and manages to land a single hit. But he's gotten 2 more torpedo hits on the South Carolina, which has earned him high caliber and Confederate. Takes some moderate damage from the Karlsruhe, and right here he's going to try and send some torpedoes around the edge of the island and get him just as he rounds the corner, if he's silly enough to do so. So just watching the recommended aiming point, and he fires his torpedoes. And this was a little bit weird because the recommended aiming point was nowhere near that island, and all of them slam into the island, which was very unfortunate because those could have been another kill. And he's trying to see if he can maybe get some shots to go over this little island, but unfortunately he is not able to. But his torpedoes are reloading soon, or he still has 1 tube at the ready, so he is now going to launch an attack on the South Carolina. He fires off the tube that is ready, which will be more than enough to finish the South Carolina if they do manage to find their mark, which it does indeed look like they are going to do. And the battleship's guns are splicing against another torpedo hit, and that is kill number 4. And he takes some more fire from the Karlsruhe, but right now things are looking like an almost certain win. There's only minute 45 left. His team leads by over 400 points, and now his team is congratulating him, which is well deserved, I think. And the Karlsruhe, expecting the torpedoes to come on that side, slows right down, and they all miss, unfortunately. and incoming torpedoes from the German cruiser. And they're still being mean to that battleship. And he's on very low health, 280, manages to miss those shots, lands 2 of his own, and unfortunately that is going to be it. But still, a minute left, no way the enemy team is going to come back from this one. So let's go and have a look at his results. And as you can see, it was indeed a victory despite being killed by Firefox in the German cruiser. He earned himself 290,000 credits, 5,100 research, 29 target hits, 10 torpedo hits, 2 incapacitations, 4 kills, caused fire twice, and caused flooding 10 times, earning himself devastating strike, Confederate, and high caliber. So some very nice results there. As you can see, he came first place on his team, doubling the score of the Phoenix in second place. And then on to the damage done. He did 9,697 high explosive damage, 1,101 from fires, just under 3,000 from flooding, and 95,911 damage from torpedo hits. So very well played, Soalhn, and thank you very much for sending in this replay. I really enjoyed watching it, and I hope you guys did too. If you have a particularly awesome replay, excuse me, that you'd like to maybe have featured on my channel, check the description down below for the email address that you guys can send it to, and please just include screenshots of all the different results pages if at all possible. But anyways, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing for more World of Warships content, as well as War Thunder and Armored Warfare. But anyways, that is it from me. Thank you very much for stopping by. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I will see you guys next time.